Hello, and welcome to this lesson titled Data Types. Variables can store different types of data types. In PHP, we have quite a number of data types. Let's take a look at some of them. We have the string data type, which contains strings or words or text. We have the int, which are integer numbers, float, bool, array, object, and null. Let us start with the string data type. So a string is a sequence of characters. This can be a text which contains letters, numbers, symbols, or spaces within a set of single or double quotes. An example is the name variable earlier. This is a string, hence why it is in quotes. So anything within quotes is a string. Don't forget that. We can add or concatenate strings together using the dot or full stop. So we can do something like this. After everything, I'll just add the dot or the full stop and I'll add another string. Let's just type anything really. So test and save this. And let's refresh here. And you can see that the test has been concatenated using the dot. Now, to get information about a variable, we can use the built-in function var dump. Let's use it on the name variable and see what it tells us. So right below this, let's type the echo and then the var dump, VARDUMP. And then we have our brackets or parentheses. So what we want to check is this name variable. So this name, let's type it, $name, and then let's save this now. So after we refresh, this is appearing on the same line. Let's correct that. First, I'll just change this test to a BR, which means a line break. So anything after those will come on the next line. Good. So after refreshing, you can see it says string, which is the name variable. It's a string, and the type of the information inside is Robert Sapon, which is 14. Hence this 14 digit number that you see. If you count this, you'll get 14. I'm talking of the letters. So all the var dump is showing is that the variable is a string with a value of 14 characters. Okay, let's take a look at the next data type, which is integers. Integers are whole numbers without decimal points. You might remember from school that integers are whole numbers without decimal points. It cannot contain commas and decimal points. So the fave number variable, which is 3, is an integer. Hence the reason why we didn't add quotes to it like we did with the string. So let's try using the var dump on it. I'll just clean up the name and type the fave number variable. And when I save this, if I refresh, you can see it's telling me that it's an int type with a value of 3, which is 3 right here. Good. Let's look at the next data type, which is float. So a float or floating data type is a number that includes a decimal point. It's similar to the integer except with decimals. So this also follows the same rules. Let's generate a variable with a float data type. So I'll name this something like shoe price. I type shoe. I'll just leave it like that. And this will be, let's make it 50.2. Yeah, something like that. Good. And let's add a comment to show that this is a float. And let's save this. So if I use var dump on it this time around, show price, and save this, if I refresh, you can see it's telling me it's a float data type with 50.2 as value. Good. Now the next data type we will be looking is Boolean. So a Boolean represents two states which are true or false. True is 1 whilst false is 0. We will go deeper into this in upcoming lessons. For now, let's see a glimpse of what it is. I'll just type two variables and name this true, and I'll set the value to true. False, and I also set the value to false. Good. So I'll just var dump the true variable, and if I save this and refresh, you can see it's telling me it's a boolean with a value of true, and same thing applies if I var dump the false value. Okay, this was simple enough. Let's look at the next data type, which is array. Arrays are special variables that can hold more than one value and even different data types at a time. We will dive deeper into this later. So let's look at a quick example of an array. So I'll declare a variable. I'll name this my array, and let's set the array to, let's say, shoes. So it means this array has a string data type which is shoe, and we can add an int which is the number 5, and let's add our semicolon. Good. So now let's try and echo that array. So echo my array, and if I save this, you can see it's giving me a warning that I'm trying to convert an array into a string. So let's rather use the print function, which is the right way to print arrays. So instead of echo, I'll type print and then R, and this should be wrapped in parentheses. And let's save this now and refresh, and you can see it's saying it's an array. Let me uncomment this so that it doesn't get confusing. Okay, so it's saying it's an array with the first value of 0, which is shoes, and 1, which is 5. These are index. Like I said, we will explain this later. So this 0 index says it's shoes, 1 says it's 5. Don't get confused. This will make much sense later. So for now, let's var dump our array value. So my array, and I'll uncomment this. If you're wondering how I'm doing this, I just hit Control and then the backslash. So if I refresh this, you can see the var dump is telling me it's an array with two values. The first one is a string with 5 characters, which is shoes, and then the second one, with the second index, is 5, which is an int. Arrays always start from 0. Okay, so the last data type we'll look at is the null. Null is a special data type that stands for the absence of a value. So basically, assigning a variable to null prints out nothing. Let's try that out also. So I'll type a variable of nothing, and then I'll set the value to null. Now let's echo nothing. So I'm echoing nothing. If I refresh this, nothing really happens. Now let's var dump nothing and see what we get. So if we save this, you can see it's printing out now. Alright, that will be it for the data types. let's move on to the next lesson.